That's Quasi here. In today's interview, we have Brian McGinty, and wow, this is an amazing success story. So Brian started with us around 2 to 3 years ago, and when he started, he was a middle school teacher working 7 days a week, really burnt out, struggling, doubting himself, wanting to take the next step with his business, wanting to, transition out and do what he wanted to do. But he just couldn't. He was filled with doubts and fears, and he was just getting in his own way. He lacked clarity. So what happened was, after working with us, Brian became from his 1.0 to his 2.0 to his 3.0. He went from that to coaching elite athletes. Okay, and some of these athletes are athletes you actually know and you've seen on TV, which is insane, considering where he was. And he started charging around $8,000 per client. So now he's built up a social media following of over 400,000 followers. And in today's video, you're going to learn the main principles Brian used to make this transformation. And it didn't have to do much, as you're going to see, with the physical actions that he took, but more of the internal actions, learning to shift his identity. So please pay attention to this. I don't think it's even that long. It's like 16 minutes long after this introduction. And I promise you, it's going to be the most valuable interview you see today, to this week, maybe even this year. So let's jump right in.
Can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a bit about Brian 1.0 when you joined the group? How did you feel? If you remember when you were starting this whole journey, how was Brian 1.0 feeling like in the beginning?
I think, the 1.0 version was definitely ready for an upgrade of self.
Hmm.
I think I was in a profession that I really never really wanted to be in to begin with. I was just kind of doing it as a means to kind of make ends meet. And
Hmm.
I had a college degree, so it was like going to teaching or whatever. And really, that was supposed to kind of catapult me into coaching. And I
Yeah.
just kind of got to this middle school, and I was working two jobs. I was doing like an outside job, a select baseball job for a few years, and it just was a lot because I was working like 7 days. I was working every day of the week, and I wasn't
Yeah.
making great money. It was good money at the time for nothing exceptional, but it was okay. And
Hmm.
so I eventually just got tired of that and got into really kind of got into fitness first for myself,
Okay.
and because I had some extra time and I was still teaching and coaching at the school. And some guys just kind of came up to me and were like, "Hey, why don't you, go into, training athletes on the side?"
Hmm.
It was something I'd always thought about, and it kind of brought me to kind of look into these guys that I knew about, the Marinoviches,
Yeah.
and I was thinking in my head like they weren't very accessible because they were older men. And I went in and ended up making contact with one of them, Marv, who's the creator of this system,
Yeah.
and he actually had Alzheimer's. So I didn't know that at the time, so I was going around, going around, going around. And he finally introduced me to his brother. He remembered and introduced to his brother, and
Yeah.
the rest was kind of history. But what was going on at that point, it started to work. And
Yeah.
so I was
So
doing pretty
it like made
well.
a click for you.
Right, right. So it was working, but it wasn't, it was like I knew at some point I was going to have to take this leap of faith
Hmm.
and leave the teaching job and go all in. And,
Yeah.
as a teacher, it's not like I had a whole lot of money saved up to do that.
Yeah.
And I just gotten married and we'd moved into a rent house that was actually pretty nice at the
Hmm.
time. And I knew the level of sacrifice it was probably going to take to like quit this job, which is my main source of income, and jump into this. And so when I got into the program, actually during COVID, I started reading a lot of self-help books. So that
Yeah.
kind of led me to seeing Quasi on YouTube. So I
Yeah.
was I was watching Neville Goddard. I was reading Outwitting the Devil, and
Hmm.
that brought me into Quasi once I was looking up the Outwitting the Devil stuff. I thought, man, this
Yeah.
guy's pretty good. I like this guy.
Yeah.
And my wife had been watching him before me. And so I just eventually, man, I was like, I want to see what this program's about. Some just led me to like want to know more. And, he wasn't
Yeah.
even pushing the program that much then. And like when I signed up, my stomach just dropped because I had that kind of attachment to money.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
still fight with that even today. I'll talk about that kind of later. I still have a slight attachment issue with that because
Hmm.
of kind of how I grew up in lack early
Yeah.
on. But man, what I tell you, that program really changed my character, especially as a trainer. Because I
Yeah.
remember thinking I can't remember, it was week 3 or something, where Quasi was like, what he said, you really could be the best in the world at what you do if you really believed it enough. And so I just
Yeah.
started telling myself, I'm the best in the world at this. I'm the best in the
Yeah.
world. Best in the world at this. And this is when I had like 4,000, 5,000 followers. And
Yeah.
then I mean, like I saw something happen probably about a year before I really blew up. The program just kind of like, I went up like 4,000, 3,000 people, like kind of overnight in a few
Out of
days.
nowhere. Yeah. That's what I saw.
While I was doing the program,
Yeah.
So I didn't get it as much then because I was still like, oh, that's crazy. Out of nowhere. Like it was no great post or anything like that. And I just
Hmm.
started reeling. So I guess somebody had posted something that I had posted and it
Yeah.
went viral somewhere. And so I got
Yeah.
like 4,000 there. And then it kind of shut off because I finished the program out and I was doing really well. And I was seeing these things kind of circulate, but I didn't have the pipelines to really bring in income.
Yeah.
So then I met my business partner who was knows business really well. I didn't even have an LLC set up, so I didn't know anything, you know. And so
Yeah.
he comes along, and then he gets somebody that can get like an online system going, and then he's showing me all the infrastructure of the business. So I didn't know anything about this stuff. So like the thing is like I said, it's better to have a great definition of purpose. I just knew where I
Hmm.
was going. And
Yeah.
once the program kind of reassured that, it just all the things I needed,
Were
came
in front of you.
right.
Yeah, no, I feel like a lot of people here when listening to this might agree with you and see I have all of these things in front of me, right? But I don't know how to use them to my advantage and actually make it work, right? And
Right.
especially what you were saying, you were like, okay, I need to make this investment into this program. You were this still your 1.0 self, and you had all these hurdles in front of you. What challenge, what event actually made you take a leap into and actually trust that the reality mastery program was going to be it for you?
I was listening to Quasi a lot at the time. And when he started to talk about kind of the details of changing, if you change basically the character, you would change your reality. And I
Yeah.
think hearing that kind of like made it kind of click. And I don't know, the recruiter said something too. He said, if most people that are successful,
Hmm.
when it's time to like basically go, that moment where it's like, should I do it or wait? They
Yeah,
usually go with their gut and they go, right? And
exactly.
I did it, and I didn't feel, I'm not gonna lie, I just felt it was the right decision, but I didn't, that
You
1.0 self wasn't
was
comfortable with it.
scared.
And it's when it's time to invest in ourselves, we want to make up so many excuses. And that was kind of that pivotal point, like
Mhm.
hearing what he was saying online about, becoming this new character. That's why your business is not making it. And I am a reflection of my business. My business,
Mhm.
I don't feel like I make, like at this point, anybody can call me and offer me $1 million.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing stopping that. Like I've been in ties with some of the best athletes in the world at this point. One of the biggest boxers in England or in the UK. I've been in contact with his team for months.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put his name out there, but
Of course.
one of the biggest. I've been in contact with countless NFL athletes, and I
Mhm.
just signed a soccer player from the UK. He's paying $8K a month. I was actually looking for 10, but it's a good starting point. So
Yeah.
it like nothing's stopping me. The only thing is actually stopping me is myself. So I
Mhm.
know when I'm clicking and I'm being that character that I've drawn out. And I actually went through. It's funny you call because you guys contacted me because I wanted to kind of like redo my 3.0 self. I think it's time for
Yeah.
that. And I went through the list and started looking at things, and I was just that I've been reading. I'm like, yeah, I'm reading this, but I really don't want that anymore. And so I just
Yeah.
started to redo the program before I start my affirmations and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people feel like it's just like you get into the program, you just do this one tweak and you get into it, but it's actually keeping doing the program again and again and just like parts of it that will help you level up more and more because the principles are applicable at any
right.
point in your life. Would you agree?
I agree 100%. And so I think
Yeah.
that's where I kind of failed. I made it through the program and I was holding on to that. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize it's not about 1.0 or 2.0. It's about 3.0, 4.0, 5. It's about the gradual
Exactly. You can
progression
keep on going
for the
all
rest,
the
yeah,
versions that you want to go into.
right, for the rest of our lives. So this is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really a life map. And so I realized, like, even now, like you were saying something about me, I hadn't been involved in a group a lot. That's not an excuse, because this should really come first if you're thinking about it. Like
Yeah.
my
The inner
self
work comes
progression,
first.
right, should come before anything. And I need to give back value too. So I felt like this was good for me to give back, first
Hmm.
of all. But yeah, those are little character flaws that are
Yeah.
still there, are lingering. So Not perfect. I want people to know that too. It's a gradual
Of
progression of that.
course, years ago, I think you were saying that you were doing teaching for 7 years or something like that, right? And then you completely
13. Yeah.
flipped into this new change. What do you
Right.
think maybe inside the program or teaching inside the program that helped you hop into that identity shift from when you were to now?
My favorite teaching is week 4. Just the pendulum shifting, and kind of put a lot of things in perspective what's actually going on.
Yeah.
That was kind of when I really was like, oh yeah, okay. So if I quit my job, I'm the leader of the ant line, and like when I
Yeah.
saw that, I was like, okay, so this is how I kind of become the rock star I want to be, right?
Yeah.
And like it's just not normal. Like it's no way it's just a coincidence. I'm in Quasi's program.
Exactly.
And then I go from 8,000 followers to, I think we almost have 400,000 followers now.
Wow. Because I
Yeah.
wanted to
On
ask
every,
you that because the last
yeah.
post I saw was 105. So I was like, there should be a lot more now. So that's
No, no, no,
insane.
no. We're at 270 on Instagram. And then we're at YouTube is what we're attacking now.
Yeah.
So that one's a little down, but TikTok's 50,000. And I think Facebook is 45. Something like that. So, but we actually have a new strategy for that. But even with that, I could have all the strategies in the world. It's me. Yeah. So, like I said, it had nothing to do with a coincidence.
Yeah.
And be honest with you, when it actually hit like that, I wasn't even thinking about it. I'd be honest. I found this little strategy, and I started posting a certain amount of times a day, and like that's fine, but like it was really just a simple tweak. I got a new phone, and the camera looked a little better, and I did this basic video, and it went viral. And I mean, I think I had 6 viral videos within a few months. So
yeah, would you say that's more a result of the inner work that you did as opposed to the outer work, like just putting in action? What do you think
right,
that maybe
that's what I'm saying. It's nothing I hadn't done before.
Exactly.
So I don't think it had anything to do with like the coincidence that I filmed this little selfie video.
Yeah.
I think just the universe finally getting its bearings together. Because I asked for big things. You know what I mean? Like in my read up, there's some big things in there. One to have 150K, 130K months. That's been very sporadic because I tend to put a lot of attention there. With the training aspect, I don't put as much attention. I just kind of know what I want now. I visualize it, I let it go, and it happens. With the money, it's like I might have a bill here.
Yeah.
It's weird because I know what to do to fix it, but that's why like community is very important. Also, like hearing other people's stories and talking to them, and also making sure you're doing those sheets every day to reiterate who you are, so that the subconscious version is in control. Because when the unconscious version is in control, it's very hard to manipulate.
You just go into default. You just go into default mode all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people need to hear exactly what you said right now, because I believe with any program, right? People come in, they're like, oh, this is going to be my magic fix to everything. But if they don't actually do the work, go through the worksheets over and over again, and actually go back and see, how does this apply to my own life? And how can I do this in my own aspect? Then it's going to be able to change their lives, just like it did with yours, right? And I feel like that's such an important point that you touched on, because it's not a magic pill, right? It's not a magic pill. It's something that you have to put your head down, learn the principles, and then apply them.
I mean, yeah, well said. I would just say, like, when 1.0 version of me comes to play, life goes back to 1.0. When I'm at 2.0, things start to go towards 2.0. And if you're going to jump up and down, you're going to see fluctuation. And that's been with me. Just like I created a bunch of fame and things like that, and wealth at times. Right. I've also went right back. But that's because the inner character is not 100% where it needs to be. So that's what I said. I got consumed with the business once it started to blow up, instead of being consumed with myself. There's still things I haven't done. Like I'm supposed to be 205 pounds, and I'm supposed to wake up at 4 o'clock and go to the gym. And these things are on my chart. But I'm lying to myself because I read that and I'm not doing it. So that subconscious part of me, like, how are you gonna make 150K a month and you're not this person, Yeah. So it's so like, it's crazy because it's so simple, so spiritual.
It's almost like you can play with life like a video game. And I feel like that's one of the things that so many of our members learn after going through the program. Because yes, you can flip flop, just like you said. But the only difference here is that before you probably didn't know, or people didn't know the way that you can actually use these tools and say, hey, I'm actually flip-flopping. I'm aware of it right now. And now I
Right.
can be able to hop right back into that new character, which is what you've been
Right.
doing.
Right. Right.
Now for the final question, what
Uh-huh.
would you recommend to someone that was maybe in your 1.0 position years ago, and someone that's considering joining Reality Mastery right now and they're maybe doubtful about it? What would you say
Right.
to that person?
I think what I would say is, the biggest investment you can make is the one you make in yourself, right? And I think people
Yeah.
there's a lot of fear when it's time to spend money, right?
Yeah.
And this program, let me tell you this, my business partner spent 30 grand for a mentorship into like a real estate program, right?
Yeah.
And the value he knows about me doing this program, the value I'm getting out of this program for 4 to 8 to 10K a month, or for one-time payment, is a steal.
Yeah.
First of all. Secondly, not knowing these principles
It's gonna
truly,
cost you more.
right, big time. Because it's like you're walking through life with a blindfold on. Like you're letting life push you this way, this way, this way. You have no control, right? You're just kind of going, being led by your emotions, being led by
Yeah.
and there's no counter. And it is no way. I think if I had to spend $30,000 to regain this knowledge, knowing what I know, or 50 or 100, I would do it. Because
Yeah.
I got way more money than I
It's gonna be triple, 10x, 20x, like
Right. And so I think that, I tell the athletes all the time, say, man, you're here with me right now because I invested in myself. I tell them the story. I tell them I maxed out a credit card. I was like, you weren't about paying me a few $1,000s, but you're going to get a contract. 4 of my athletes have made, like, I think $8 to $10 million after training with me. You're getting way more value than what you're paying me.
Yeah.
So invest in yourself, make the move, and you'll see your investment. It'll come back. All you gotta do is stick to the principles of this program, and you're set. I guarantee.
Yeah, you just gotta put your head down and actually do it.
Right.
Like
And quit worry about reality. There is no reality. Like we try to do the realistic thing, and that's why you're stuck. That's why you don't have 250,000 followers. That's why, or whatever you're trying to do, is because you're living in their reality. You have to live in the real reality, which is the subconscious. Right.
Exactly.
And that's what it comes down to, is us getting aligned with who we really are, which is, as we know, nothing.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Right.
Beautiful advice. Beautiful advice. I feel like that is perfect for anyone that's that doubtful state. I loved how you could go back to your previous version and be like, hey, like this is what I would do back then. And that's exactly what you did.
Right.
And that's what brought you here right now. It's a beautiful interview. Thank you so much for taking the time out of it.
I appreciate it. I'm glad I could get that.
And I feel like everyone's gonna enjoy this so much. Such a different story. And I got to know more about you myself today, which I really, really was inspired by. So thank you so much again. And thank you for taking the time out to do this. Okay.
No problem. Anytime you need me.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.